During September 1842, Joseph Smith gave some added instructions regarding the procedure for baptisms for the dead. These additional instructions helped to deepen the importance of the ordinance in the minds of the saints and fortified the familial bonds that participants forged with their ancestral dead through their vicarious work. During his first visit to Joseph Smith in September 1823, the ancient prophet Moroni paraphrased the words of Malachi, explaining that a part of the work which God had for Joseph to do was to plant in the hearts of the children the promises made to the fathers, so that the hearts of the children would turn to their fathers. This work was to ensure that the whole earth would not be utterly wasted at Christ's coming. 12 years later, in the Kirtland Temple, Joseph Smith recorded another angelic visitation, this time from the promised Elijah, who explained that the time had fully come, which was spoken of by the mouth of Malachi, wherein the hearts of the children and the hearts of their fathers would turn to each other. Building upon these ideas and Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 15:29, as well as personal knowledge independent of the Bible which had been received by revelation, Joseph Smith introduced the principle and practice of baptism for the dead in August 1840. This new ordinance caught on among the Latter-day Saints and caused quite a revival in the church, as they were able to act for their friends who had departed this life. Despite the enthusiasm of the saints for the practice, however, early baptisms for the dead were often recorded in a haphazard manner, with records often giving little more detail than the name of the person baptized, who they were baptized for, and the year in which the ordinance was performed. In a letter to the church dated September 1st, 1842, Joseph Smith provided some additional insights into recent revelations that he had received, which directed that changes were needed in the record-keeping practices. The revelation indicated their recorder was to be eyewitness of all their baptisms, and that the records which were kept were to be had in order, preserved, and protected within the archives of the temple from generation to generation. Rather than being perfunctory requirements, these records played a role in making the ordinances efficacious in the heavens. In this way, their records would be recorded and bound not only on earth, but also in heaven. 6 days later, on September 7th, while hiding from arrest at the home of Edward Hunter, Joseph dictated a lengthy letter to the saints on baptism for the dead. He again encouraged the saints to keep more detailed records of the ordinances that were performed, and explained what details should be recorded. In contrast to the earlier haphazard records, Joseph instructed recorders to make a record of the date and names, etc., and the history of the whole transaction, and also the names of 2 or 3 individuals who could be called upon to certify the same, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. The letter then instructed the general church recorder to gather each of these records into a book that would be maintained in the archives of the temple. By following these very particular steps, those ordinances would not only be recorded upon the earth, but they would be recorded in the heavenly archives also. The aim of all this was to one day offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness, presenting unto the Lord in the temple a book containing the records of our dead, which shall be worthy of all acceptation. In this way, a welding link would bind the saints to their generations before them, so that both they and their dead might be made perfect. The September 7th letter was read to the saints during their gathering on Sunday, September 11th. That evening, as baptisms were performed in the Nauvoo Temple baptismal font, the records kept reflected the higher level of detail that Joseph had asked for. These improved methods of record keeping not only served to systematize the practice of baptism for the dead, but also helped to create a more lasting bond between those who were baptized and their kindred dead, without whom they could not be made perfect. By ensuring that these records would be guarded and maintained within the archives of the temple, thereby also recorded in the heavenly archives, these ordinances became more than merely transitory events in the minds of the saints. Endowed with lasting significance and efficacy, baptisms for the dead forged lasting bonds between the living saints and their ancestral dead.